Don't forget to catch us on Facebook and Twitter. Now, as with so many programs over the ages, patching has become a regular occurrence. And I have to admit, it's been a while since Docker has had an issue whereby it required an actual patch. So today we're going to look at the current patching and why we need to upgrade from the docker.io on Ubuntu. Now the reason for upgrading is pretty apparent because the version with the package itself contains a Docker version that is below the patch for this particular vulnerability, and as a result we're going to remove that version, which in this case is the 18.06, and upgrade to a later release. So there's a couple of steps that we're going to need to perform in order to do this update. So first of all, let's get rid of the existing Docker package so that we have the ability to do the upgrade relatively cleanly. Now, before anyone panics, first of all, the removal itself is straightforward. We just do an apt remove and then the docker.io. And the other part of this is to keep in mind, we're not actually affecting the configuration files or the Docker directories. So any images or other parts that I have already configured, they're going to still remain after the uninstall of the package itself. This obviously allows you to not need to pull images down every time. So once the uninstall is completed, we're going to go ahead and do the install. Now the install itself is relatively simple. We will need to configure the Docker repository first of all. So this is going to involve a couple of commands. These are all available on the Docker website. There's nothing spectacular or new here. In fact, I would seriously recommend just following along the guides. They have every step that you need to run on Ubuntu and on several other Debian releases, or even Red Hat or SUSE. So going through the process of just quickly validating that all the keys are correct and adding the repository, which, like I said, are nicely documented. Once those steps are complete, we're going to install to what is the current latest community edition. So that's actually going to be the 18.09 release. So 3 minor releases higher than the docker.io. And I'm not saying that the docker.io package itself is a bad thing, just that it's as yet not at the level whereby it's patched. And if you look at the official Docker documentation, they generally tend to suggest not to run it where possible and to get the package directly from themselves. And I have to admit, historically I have been very lazy and just used the docker.io because there have been very few security vulnerabilities until recently. So with the final step of installing Docker, you can see that we are actually using several packages here within the community edition. These are the suggested ones. Frankly, you may not use them all, you might use them all. It's entirely down to how you're planning to use your configuration, to be perfectly honest. I would say go with the standards. There's not a lot of configuration options here, and chances are if you're going to be using community edition, you might want to play around with some of the CLI features and other stuff, so just go ahead and install all the packages. There's not a lot of configuration space in terms of, you're talking about 50-60 meg difference in total whether you pick all the packages or just one, so that's about it really. As you can also see, we've got to the 18.09.2 release, which is the current build in the community edition. That is a secure release at the moment. Now, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, or alternatively hit that subscribe button, and as always, stay tuned for more content.